Okay, change of plans for part 3 of the MK Ultra series. Due to the recent assassination attempt on Trump, we already covered how the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy by Sirhan Sirhan could have been connected to MK Ultra. Because to this day, he claims he must have been under hypnosis or something, because he has no recollection of the events. Now let's discuss how MK Ultra could be potentially connected to the JFK assassination as well. Newly declassified documents say that when the alleged assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, was in the Marines, the naval base that he was stationed at in Atsuki, Japan, also turned out to be one of the LSD testing facilities that the CIA used during MK Ultra. Jack Ruby, the man who took out Lee Harvey Oswald, was treated by the MK Ultra doctor, who is also said to have treated Charles Manson at the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic, where more of these LSD tests were conducted. Some of you are probably thinking, what does that have to do with today? Well, the FBI has been caught coercing and entrapping people up until this present day, such as the Newburgh Four. 4 black Muslim men targeted by the FBI were militarized and offered $250,000 to attack a synagogue, similar to the Liberty City 7, who were coerced and approached by the FBI to carry out a terrorist attack in Miami, as well as the Fort Dix 5. It's also said that the same thing happened to the men that attempted to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer, or the pizza delivery driver who was struggling with mental health issues in Detroit, who was tricked into falling in love with a woman online, a honeypot situation, and had been persuaded to join in on a terrorist attack that didn't happen. Or this man who was tricked into agreeing to be part of a bombing in Herald Square, or the mentally ill teenager tricked into agreeing to join ISIS. There's hundreds of these cases that have been proven. Most of them are suffering with extreme mental illness. In this story about a mentally incompetent teenager, the FBI grooming a mentally ill 16-year-old again. And if you're interested, this Columbia Law paper breaks down not only the history of it, but how it's evolved. What's being done within BLM, as well as Antifa, and it breaks down the role of informants as well as provocateurs, which are informants that actually set up these sting operations. Sometimes they're paid, sometimes they're let off for their crimes, and sometimes they're threatened. And it really makes you wonder, why do so many of these people fit the same profile? It was later revealed that the Orlando nightclub shooter, that his own father was an FBI informant. Now, I'm not at all saying that that's what happened yesterday. We don't have enough details about this to know anything yet. But let's get back to JFK. What if Lee Harvey Oswald actually was one of those LSD test subjects? Why would 3-letter agencies want to take out JFK? Okay, so Allen Dulles was the head of the CIA, and he's the one who ordered the agency to come up with a mind control program and handpicked Sidney Gottlieb to be in charge of it. But JFK fired him, and then he gave a statement saying he wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and then scatter it into the wind. After Kennedy's assassination, the Warren Commission was appointed to investigate his assassination. However, one of the members was Allen himself, which seems like a conflict of interest. The Warren Commission determined that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. They claimed that he had no relation to Jack Ruby, his killer. However, an airport employee in Key West Airport claims that she saw them traveling to Cuba together. Airport manager claims that in 1963, saw them with a group of people, described exactly what they were wearing, exactly where they were standing. The story was confirmed by another employee who said she talked to them about going to pick sugarcane. In fact, there were hundreds of people who claimed to see them together before the assassination. One woman who was the mother of a former attorney general in Texas said she saw them eating together at a restaurant because she was their waitress. And on top of that, declassified documents have shown that Oswald had been under CIA surveillance since 1961. He was described as an American who defected to the Soviet Union. It's also said that he traveled to Mexico City. Now, some JFK investigators claim that every story linking Oswald to the Soviets or to Cuba was actually fabricated by the US in an attempt to cover up that the CIA had been hiring people from organized crime to kill Castro. Because interestingly enough, Jack Ruby had met with Fidel Castro 10 weeks before the assassination. And this man, Frank Sturgis, was a burglar, turned out to be a CIA operative as well. Another informant, Morris Childs, claims that he met with Castro 7 months after the assassination, that Castro told him personally that Oswald went to Mexico City to try to get citizenship in Cuba. However, another source claims that there was a CIA station in Mexico City and that Oswald was filmed there. And if Oswald was supposedly working with communists, why would he be meeting with a senior CIA agent? Okay, now let's get back to Jack Ruby. In documents, it was revealed that Jack Ruby did in fact go to Cuba, but his attorneys said it was only to sell Jeeps and that he was mentally ill. A psychiatrist said he was not able to understand what he was doing. Doctors insisted he was in a state in which people do things that they are not aware of. He has no recall of what he did. He didn't have any memory come back until he was scuffling on the ground. Now let's get back to one of his doctors, who went by the nickname Jolly West. He also treated Patty Hearst, who was kidnapped by an extremist group and then started committing crimes and robbing banks with them. He was most known for his work with prisoners of war and the infamous case during the Korean War where 36 American soldiers came back and claimed that they had committed biological warfare. It was said that they had been tortured and brainwashed into believing that they did this, and Jolly West worked with them to convince them that they actually had not committed biological warfare. Now, who really killed JFK? According to Lyndon B. Johnson's mistress, he told her one night over pillow talk that it was Texas oil guys and renegade intelligence bastards. One name that does come up a lot is George de Mohrenschildt, who was a friend of Lee Harvey Oswald, who was based out of Dallas, Texas. He gave a long testimony to the Warren Commission. The book Family of Secrets by Russ Baker also says that George Bush Sr. could have potentially been linked to the assassination, also being a Texas oil guy. And you may or may not remember that George H.W. Bush was the director of the CIA from 1976 to 1977, had been connected since 1959. Sadly, in 1973, Sidney Gottlieb and Richard Helms destroyed almost all of the MK Ultra related documents.